Good morning. File complaint for Brush. Get in line, Keely. Splutty, good morning to you. Epic Pikachu, good morning. Xcuber2 _ Art, good morning to you as well. Har Blaster. Good morning. Across the board. Hope this is your last low ink. You can make it your last low ink. Like, nothing is forcing anybody to play low ink. There is no rule that says you can't play in any other tournament until you get banned from low ink. Actually, I take that back. There's like 2 tournaments that have that rule, but they don't get a lot of participants, so it's not that big of a deal. Your team captain dies? Just get a new team captain in. I mean, condolences first. You don't do it immediately. Just immediately move on, but in their honor, I think you keep going. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or the VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are suddenly remembering that H3 is in fact a weapon that is in the video game, rushing to release your patch notes breakdown video, DMing me at 7 in the morning asking if the IGN Hue Peen is acceptable in low ink. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. In case you were wondering, the IGN Hue Peen is not actually acceptable for low ink. And just another chapter to be released at some point in my book, the tell all the DMs that I get in low ink that you never see or actually hear about. Man, that was a good one. I thought about posting it on Twitter, but then I was like, you know what? I don't want to discourage people from DMing me stuff, because like sometimes I do get DMs about low ink things that are actually serious. And I know I got a reputation of being kind of like snippy because I get annoyed kind of easily. But you still want to be open because like you don't want people to be like, well, this is important, but I'm not going to ask it, and I'm not going to go anywhere because I don't want to be made fun of or have Popgun yell at me. But sometimes you guys ask some questions that are just like, are you serious? You can't be serious. You didn't know the answer to that? Well, now they do. Splatfest is this weekend, which means two things. Number one, the vast majority of people playing in low ink are going to accidentally play a game with the Splatfest tee. Don't worry, we're not Nintendo. We don't ban the Splatfest tee. You're more than welcome to wear it. But I'm assuming a lot of you are going to wear it on accident. Keep in mind our cancellation rule. If the game started and you cancel for a Splatfest tee. Oh, oops, we're actually wearing our Splatfest tee. Nope, you got to play that out. If you load up in the game and you accidentally got your Splatfest tee on, you got to play that game out. You can't just cancel it and use it as like an excuse. Oh, now we know what weapons they're going to use. Well, let me just change up my shirt real quick to something that kind of, nope. The game, if you get started up, you're going to have to play it out. So make sure you're not wearing your Splatfest tee. The number two thing is that I am more interested not in who actually wins Splatfest, but if I personally win Splatfest. My loyalty can be bought because the only thing I care about is getting snails, and snails are only be given to you through Splatfest right now. At the end of Splatoon 2, every time you leveled up, you got another snail, which is great. That's not an option right now. You have to play in Splatfest to get snails, so you're incentivized to win. So picking something you actually believe in is dumb. Who cares? Are you really going to fight for the honor of drums or a guitar? Like, is that going to impact your life at all? No. But getting sea snails will impact your life because those things are really good in the video game. So I always pick Team Shiver, regardless, because Shiver wins the vast majority of the time. However, I can't go against my Chicago Cubs, who I believe is now on the favor of Big Man. So I am going to be on Team Cubs. I'm not going to play Splatfest at all because I don't really care that much. But go Cubs go. Go Cubs go. Just leave it at that. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. Low ink registration closes in about 6 hours. So if you got a splash tag issue or you got somebody you want to add to your roster or you even want to sign up for low ink, do it now. Don't wait till the last minute. Well, you've kind of already done that, but don't wait until the final hour. You will really find us to be not so helpful in help desk 1 hour before registration closes. We're not too eager to help you speed up your registration process or double check your splash tags for you. We're not, because you've had 19 days to get that all figured out. And if you're going to wait till the last minute, don't be surprised if we're not super eager to hold your hand and guide you through the process, because we're not. You're going to be on your own. We're just going to like guide you in the right direction, but we're not going to do anything for you. So avoid that. Fix everything now. Get your affairs in order. If you're not going to play in low ink, I highly recommend you try out Squid Junction. It takes place on Saturday night. Still on Battlefy, which is kind of surprising to me. That might be one of the last tournaments still on Battlefy that has any kind of significance with anything. I think everything else has moved on to Sindao. Squid Junction's still there. I still support Squid Junction around here, so make sure you sign up for that. Proving Ground is going to be next Sunday. Not this upcoming Sunday, but the Sunday after that, 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. If you're interested in tournaments beyond the low ink skill level. Today we are going to be previewing low ink along with my top 10 teams. And I'll give you a little bit of a disclaimer right now. This is a wide open tournament. I do have a number one team, but I am not anywhere near as confident in them as I have been in the team I had number one last time. In fact, the team I had at number two was the team that ended up winning the whole thing. Rather easily, at least when they got to alpha bracket. It wasn't easy leading up to that. This is going to be a wide open low ink. I still got a top 10, though. So all that and more But first, see if we lower the camera a little bit. Tuesday came, and something amazing happened. Pigs flew, the fat lady sang, the Angels won the pennant, and Fry actually won in Splatfest. All things we never thought would actually happen happened on Tuesday. We actually got a patch that was good. Nintendo released an update to the video game that wasn't just a head scratcher or a very small slight buff to weapons that nobody even realized was in the game to begin with. This was a big overhaul that fixed a lot of things. It was a great patch. Where does it rank amongst all the other patches? I don't know. I mean, when the game first comes out, it's not even done. So, like, are those patches really, like, great patches, or are they just more so just fixing the video game that you were hoping you had bought 6 months ago, but they're still updating and trying to fix? Like, most of those were just fixing blaring glitches. You remember a little sock puppet thing in a Salmon Run, just, like, spawning all over the place and teleporting all around? Yeah, those were most of the patches are. As far as, like, the game's actually been out, we can like focus on what the real problems is. This is one of the best patches, if not the best. Mid-tier weapons and specials got a buff. Top-tier weapons got a bit of a nerf. And Range Blaster got kicked in the shin for some reason. The special points when a Range Blaster got increased by 10 points. Why? I mean, like, I honestly wonder. Some of these things they do, it makes a lot of sense. The other things you're like, okay, well, that maybe like there's a huge casual population that complains about this weapon when you jump and it shoots and it doesn't do something right. I don't know. But Range Blaster, who was upset that Range Blaster was getting 2 wave breakers in a 5-minute game and said, no, that's too many. It needs to be more difficult for that thing to get out wave breaker. Who cares? But there you go. They giveth and they randomly taketh away. But other than that, for the most part, things to be seen pretty good here. I love that they buffed some of the midline weapons. The Splattershot Pro and the H3 got a damage buff. Basically, like they infused main power up into it so that it could continue to. It's not so much to the point to where it's the 99.9. Back when that was the meta in Splatoon 2, when main power first came out and made the game worse. It's like they just, okay, let's just infuse some main power up into the weapon permanently and make it a little bit closer to being strong, to more competitive with some of the other weapons that are at the top or upper echelon of the game. That was cool. I like that. I like that a lot. H3 players have my admiration because that weapon is very difficult to be good at. But if you are good at it, you can just absolutely erase people and put down so much paint. That thing used to be meta for a long time in Splatoon 2 when it had the suction bomb and the ink armor. I don't see H3 getting used that much, though. I mean, it's the game, since H3 was used a lot, the game itself has just gotten so much faster. Players have just become so much better, so much faster at the video game to where H3 just feels sluggish and slow. You're really married to your shots every time that you fire that thing. It's hard to dodge some of these other specials like ink strikes with it unless you're basically just already running. And it's, I don't know, it just feels like the weapon itself, even with the damage buff, is still just outclassed by just pretty much everything that is meta right now. Pro's still a little bit better. It's a good weapon to just kind of murder people, just like straight down mow down some players. Doesn't paint a whole heck of a lot. And again, that's why like the regular junior, or not the junior, just the vanilla splatter shot puts down so much paint, gives you so much mobility, allows you to just do a whole lot more and get a lot of slaying power. It's just a sacrifice of just a little bit of range. But still, positive things in the right direction. Those things definitely help those two weapons improve. Luna and S Blaster getting a little bit of a buff along with Splashdown, I think, got buffs. Sometimes you read the English translations and it doesn't really make any sense. It's like, okay, the hands go down faster now, but like the radius that it does, the 60% damage was shrunk. So it's like, oh, wait, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I don't really know. But them's the breaks right there. But basically, all the niche weapons that you could have been using in competitive got a little bit better, either just by the main weapon or the special or something here or there, or just the special decrease. Now, one of the main reasons that I and several other people have been pushing for a weapon/special ban is because the patches that have come out for this video game sucked. If you are somebody who has said, well, let's just wait until Nintendo comes out to fix it. We should not be stepping in. We're not developers. We don't know how to control this game. So let's let Nintendo just handle it. Well, the counter argument to that is then, are you serious? Like, have you been paying attention to the patches for the last several years? Like, nothing's changed. Why are you going to assume the next patch is going to start changing things? Well, if you've had that mindset, Nintendo really rewarded you with this patch. They gave you a lot of different things to improve and addressed a lot of the problems that we've been having in the game as far as the three things I've been saying should be banned as far as competitive play is concerned. Pencil got a special nerf. We'll talk about that a little bit later. V-Shot got a special nerf. Squeezer. People have been complaining about Squeezer. That thing got a little bit of a special nerf as well. More points being needed, 10 points for each weapon before you can get the respected special that comes along with that weapon. Now, 10 points in general doesn't really add a lot. Sometimes you get a special and you're just holding on to it for a little bit. So it's like that extra time you're holding on to it, you're painting the ground anyways. You would have naturally gotten that 10 to begin with. But over the course of a 5-minute game, it probably does add up. And, for weapons that don't paint as well as others, it's probably a little bit more impactful. But still, it's still steps in the right direction. Like, you have to acknowledge it still at least nerfs the weapon technically a little bit, which is something we've all been kind of asking for. Is it enough to completely change it? To like knock it off the pedestal and make something not meta anymore? No, it absolutely doesn't. But you have to acknowledge that it's not nothing. It is at least something that makes those weapons slightly more difficult to use at the caliber they've been used before. I still think Zuka being limited to one use per comp is going to be the right call, along with banning Pencil altogether. The blue pencil, there's people that think the red one should be banned as well. I don't know about that, but I think the Zuka and the pencil thing are still applicable. Like, Zuka itself didn't get touched. Cooler itself didn't get touched. The amount of paint that a pencil can put down didn't get touched. The splatter shot itself didn't get touched. It's just the 10 increase on the special for a lot of those things that didn't really get addressed right there. Kraken got fixed. We think Kraken got fixed. So it is now at a point to where, like Inkjet and Zipcaster is, where if you jump to somebody who's using that special, you go to where they activated their special, not to where their current location is. The only difference is, and I didn't even realize this until FLC pointed it out, but it's such an obvious thing for us to realize, is when the Inkjet is done, the Inkjet player goes back to where they pop the special. Same thing with Zipcaster. They land directly back where they started it. Kraken doesn't work that way. Kraken, even though people can't jump to you while you're Kraken anymore, except where you took off, they can wait until your Kraken starts to shrink, and then they can jump to you. Now, you can still be killed before you're jumpable, I think. So the Kraken cheese itself is still not like 100% gone, but it is still it's still at least counterable to some extent. And it's not like you can just create this. You can have people jump to you, and then you have all these extra invincibility of being a Kraken to help make sure their jumps come in safely. No bombs or anything kind of collaterals them right there. But it is still something that can happen. Now, there's a lot of people that are pointing out this like, well, what's stopping me from going all the way into their base and then popping Kraken and then they jump right there? Okay, you could have done that anyways. You could have done that with Inkjet. You could have done that with Zipcaster, or by not popping his special at all. If you're going to let your opponent go all the way into your base, that is a problem on your part, regardless of what weapon or special they're going to be using. At some point, we're going to come out of our caves in this post-Kraken cheese world and realize, oh yeah, that's how you play Clam Blitz. You go to their basket and you throw power clams into it. At some point, you start to realize that, and I think we're still so shocked with how we used to play Clam Blitz that it's a culture shock to go back to how it was supposed to be played all along. But I think it's to a point now, and we already announced this with Proving Grounds, that we are not going to do the Kraken ban anymore for Clam Blitz. The 96 Deco users rejoice, and all 2 of you that use the heavy Deco as well. Here's what's interesting, though. While Pencil and Zuka didn't get touched, they gave us new options to deal with it. Some good and some, why would you do that? Bubbler now is very strong. Bubbler looks really strong right now. And it was probably already really good. It's just we never really saw it used that much, and probably didn't have people outside of like people who are like really trying to experiment with it, try to like find key locations or different key spots. I'm sure there's been like people who've grinded out and done like labbed out different ways to use Bubbler effectively, but there wasn't really much incentive to when Zuka and Cooler were just that strong, and especially when Crab was strong at the beginning of the game as well. But now that Bubbler's gotten this big buff, much harder to eliminate it, especially at the top. I think you're going to see more Bubbler use in the meta, which is going to be cool. The issue is the weapons that it's on. Like maybe Vanilla Blaster might get some more use because that thing can be pretty effective. But like Roller was already a niche pick. However, though, unless you are Lily, you're not going to be winning a fight of a junior versus a splatter shot or a squeezer or a carbon or a machine. Like there's the weapons that have Zuka versus the weapons that have junior. Like take the kits away. Like just the weapon versus the weapon. The Zuka kits are winning the vast majority of those fights. And there's going to be some players that have been really good with Squiffer in the past that are going to get a little bit more value out of it as well. But not everyone's just going to pick up Squiffer and be as good as they've just been picking up Pencil. So that's a little bit of the issue right there. But I still think, regardless of that, the bubble buff is going to be something that is going to be significant across the board. And it's good because I feel like that can be a counter to Zuka, especially if it can absorb more Zuka shots. Maybe block out the Pencil a little bit right there. Not completely like, oh, well, we can't use Zuka because they're using Bubbler. And that is one more special your other opponent has to use that's more of a defensive special than something else a little bit more aggressive. But still, I think it is going to be introduced the more, and especially as more people use Bubbler, they're going to find more spots that use it to be really effective across a variety of things. Still, there's one other thing they kind of gave us that was a huge buff. And it was the worst thing Nintendo could have possibly done to the competitive Splatoon community. The worst thing they did was buff Splatter Color Screen. It used to do 30 damage if you touched it. Now it does 40. And that is significant. A Burst Bomb direct after you go through the wall will kill you now. A Splashdown indirect after you go through the wall will kill you now. That sucks. I mean, the splatter screen, if you just look at the special by itself, if it just damaged you and that's all it did, it would still be a really strong special. I mean, just a giant wall, and that thing stretches so far, especially in hagglefish. It basically covers the entire zone. Like, we're just gonna send this right through the zone. You can't dodge it unless you back up or just like go head first through it. And there have been several players who will just go head first through. All right, well, I'm just gonna take the 30 damage, surprise them, and get into a fight. Are you really gonna do that now that it's 40 though? You're almost at a spot to where, okay, you're going to start second guessing if you're going to run through it. If you've been one of those Rambo kind of players with splatter screen, now you have to respect it a lot more than what it was. And it's not always in easy positions for you to dodge it. Pencil could really, really be hurt by a splatter screen. And it's not, where would you rank the special right now? I don't know. I'm not like a tier list kind of person. There's plenty of other content creators that make in-depth videos for stuff like that. But here's the point I'm getting at. You can't ignore the fact that it is a really strong special, and especially on the squeezer now, or the gal, or the 52 deco. Like, it's on 2 weapons that can really get good value out of it and can be really strong if it was allowed to be played in competitive. Man, I really wish they would have fixed it, or just get rid of the colorblind and the ear thing, like the noise that it makes. Like, just get rid of that. It's dumb. Like, it's not fun. Even people that aren't medically affected by it, it's not like anyone enjoys that. And like, nobody takes joy. I colorblind my opponent. Like, that's not fun for the user as well. Like, just let it hurt you. And then, if you want some other distortion effect, like, I don't know, come up with something else. But they didn't fix the medical problem that people are still having with the special. So this sparks the conversation. Now that this special is even better than what it was before, were we going to start allowing it back into tournaments? I'll tell you this right now, and this isn't me speaking on behalf of IPL because we haven't had any meetings about this, but I can just tell you that here's why I know IPL's stance is going to be, because we learned this the hard way. IPL is not going to change the opt-out system for splatter screen. We don't care how good it is. It is not worth it to even consider that. We did drop the ban on splatter screen when we thought that it got fixed, when they fixed it the first time with the patch. We were having people call for a boycott against us. We had people calling us ableist. We had people blowing up our Discord chats. We just had all kinds of crazy and nasty things flung in our direction. Now, there were plenty of people that were upset with us in a completely fair way. Hey, like, you guys should not have unbanned this. That's messed up. But there was still enough crazy over the top flack that we caught as well, to where we are now at a point where it's like, all right, we're not touching it. Opt in or opt out. Simple as that. If you can handle it, go right ahead. If you don't want your opponent to use it, just say so. We'll honor that. And if anybody complains or accuses you of oh, well, you're confined, you just don't want to actually play it against it, we'll defend you and we'll punish that player if it comes down to that kind of level of bullying. Well, now the special is good, so the conversation's being brought up again. But nope, not even coming close to touching that. And I know there are going to be instances where people are going to say, well, my opponent isn't actually affected by this. They just know that I'm really good at squeezer now, and they don't want me to use it against them. Okay, how do you work around how do you work around that? As a TO, honestly, like, am I going to go and be like, hey, if you're going to opt out, you need to give us a doctor's note that confirms that this actually affects you or not? Like, there'll probably be screenshots leaked of, because you guys are morons, and you will talk to one of your friends in a DM, text message plain as day that says, I'm not actually affected by splatter screen. I just don't want my opponent to use it. And then that person's going to share it with Twitter eventually. Like, you think those conversations don't happen or don't get shared. They always do. It's always magically shared, whether it's tomorrow or 4 years from now. Those things eventually come out. What do you do in those situations? But as a TO is concerned, man, it's tricky. It's really tricky. But when it's something that has to do with medical issues that people are experiencing, you can't mess around with that. And I understand just because the weapons or the special is really strong now, and it sucks because it could be something that does affect the meta. It really could. And there's going to be plenty of high-level tournaments that are going to allow it. And there's going to be plenty of sets where both teams don't opt out of it, and you're going to still be able to see it. But like a complete, well, we need to revisit banning it. Why? If you weren't concerned about banning it before, but now you are concerned about unbanning it just because it's a better special, then doesn't that say you didn't really think about the medical side of it at all? Because that didn't really get touched. That is why it got banned to begin with. You can't just, well, yeah, they didn't touch the medical stuff, but now that it does more damage, we got to consider it. No, the issue hasn't been addressed. So therefore, it should not change. If anybody decides to change it just based off of the special damage that it does, you didn't really understand the point of it being banned to begin with. So that sucks. I wish they could have just fixed anything else. But just introducing that conversation back into the topic of the competitive Splatoon scene just sucks all over. But no, we're not going to be changing that. Learn that lesson the first time. And it was the right lesson for us to learn. But here we are with this patch that has come out. How is this going to affect the weapon ban specials that we were talking about? The whole conversation leading up to this was Nintendo's not going to fix this, so why we as the TO should start fixing this. Well, some of that stuff did get fixed. Is it enough to where we can drop the bans on things? I don't know. There's still more to be seen with this. Obviously, you want to see some things played out, and I'm not talking about how Low Ink plays things out. Proving Grounds next week, we're still going to keep the pencil ban, and we're still going to limit the one Zuka thing. We got rid of the Kraken because that's appeared to be fixed, but we're still going to keep it. We're still going to try the limitations on things, which is good. And I don't know what the future holds. This could be the only time Proving Grounds does a weapon ban, and we might just realize, well, okay, we don't need to do any of this stuff anymore. Or we're like, okay, yeah, this was the right call. Or maybe let's drop the one Zuka thing and just ban V-Shot. I don't know. But here's what the whole conversation for the past month has been about. Bans are something we need to not see as taboo anymore, especially as TOs. These things are going to happen eventually, whether it's next season or the season after that. Like, if there's another back-to-back awesome patch that fixes things, that's awesome. I'm still not optimistic that is something that is going to happen, though, and there's no reason for you. If you're using this one patch, okay, there's plenty of counter-argument examples to show patches that didn't really do anything. There's a lot more of those than just one positive thing. If you're holding out hope for that, you need to see a little bit more consistency. And the problem has always been, why do we allow certain things to happen? Yes, Nintendo could fix all of this, and that's great. Like, you're not going to see anybody who is pro-ban that is going to be upset that Nintendo fixes the issues in themselves. No, like, I'm all on board with that. Like, I don't want to ban anything from our tournaments. I just want the game to be fixed. And you're starting to realize that we, the TOs, can fix certain things ourselves. We just don't want to because we've never done it in the past. Kraken is a pure example. The Kraken cheese may have been fixed. We'll figure it out, but it appears like it has been fixed. And everybody's excited about that. Everybody's on board with that. And everybody's like, good, see? Nintendo, listen to us. Here's the problem. We could have fixed the Kraken cheese a year ago. We could have done that ourselves. We didn't. Why? Because we never banned things before. Well, my grandpa didn't ban things when he was a Splatoon 1 TO, so we should never do it in Splatoon 7. We'll never do it ever because we never did it before. Okay, we should have done it before. We should have banned missiles to some extent at the end of Splatoon 2. We should have banned the Kraken cheese the past year. And I'm part of the problem, obviously, because I wasn't in favor of it either. It's only until recently where I just clicked into my mind. It's like, wait a minute. We could just fix that ourselves. The fact that we are refusing to fix this game ourselves because we think Nintendo eventually will get around to it, that's the wrong kind of mindset that we need to have as TOs and players. The point of all of this conversation is that this game, as far as competitive as it works competitively, this game belongs to us. We can fix all these things. We can introduce our own patches. There's no reason to think we shouldn't just because of, what might happen. Well, we can decide what can happen. We just don't want to. But that is the mindset we're going to change. Could this be something to where we don't ban things going forward? Possibly. And that would be great. That would be fantastic if we got to that point. But bans are going to come at some point. And I think that is something you got to start getting into your mindset of accepting. If you're someone who thinks I'm never going to ban things ever, why'd you let Kraken just happen for a whole year? Why'd you let Kraken cheese happen for a whole year? We could have done something about it. There's going to be more examples of that coming forward. Overall, a good patch, but it doesn't change the conversation about banning weapons and specials. The conversation's just getting started, and it's going to last until the end of time for competitive Splatoon. I promise you that. If it's banned now, it's harder to unban later. Some things, yes or no. The Kraken thing wasn't hard to unban. Hey, they fixed it. I immediately unbanned it. It was the easiest thing in the world to do. Pencil and Zuka, that obviously takes more time to figure things out. But you're never going to have anybody on board with bans or unbans. But my point has always been, we can't just use that as a deterrent to do it. Well, it's going to be harder to fix this later. Well, okay. Well, can we still acknowledge that it's a problem? Can we still acknowledge that it's something that needs to be fixed? Like just because we don't know, we're not even getting past the first step because we're worried step number 10 is going to be too complicated. That's the point I'm trying to get at here. We don't know how hard it's going to be to unban something because we never tried it. But other esports have done this. We are not like other esports. Okay? This isn't like Melee where you get one individual character. This isn't like some other shooter where you can find different weapons and things scattered throughout the map. This is a completely different ball game. We got to be able to think for ourselves with some of this stuff here. Popgun just wanted to ask how you're doing today. I'm doing good, thank you. This patch was the equivalent of the Cubs winning the World Series. No. Not even close. I still have a bottle of bourbon that matured the day the Cubs won the World Series. My father-in-law got it for me. I don't know when to open that. I can't just open that and drink it. What occasion, my son becomes president? I don't even know if that would reach the point to where, okay, now I need to open this and drink this special drink. So let's root for the Cubbies. Let's talk about low ink. Which, by the way, that whole weapon ban conversation, don't worry, none of that applies to low ink. If there ever was a weapon ban for low ink, it would come so late that it would be the last tournament to ban things. Again, the stance has been you shouldn't ban things in low ink if they're going to be not having those bans when they go on to open tournaments. The idea is to prepare you guys for the next step, so it should mirror what the next step should look like. So don't worry. Weapon bans are... I wouldn't say never go into low ink, but it'll be like one of the last tournaments to have any weapon bans, which is why we're doing it for Proving Grounds and I'm not even thinking about doing it for low ink. Low ink is concerned. As of right now, 2:37 Eastern Time, we have 132 teams registered for this tournament. That is a lot of teams that are playing in a tournament. 8 more pending. Now, even though that is a lot of teams, it's nowhere near how much we had 2 months ago, or that time we had 200 teams. 2 months ago, we had 190 plus teams in low ink. And there'll still be more that sign up. There'll be like 15 more that are going to sign up over the course of today in the next 5 hours. Teams that wait to the last possible opportunity. I get it. I completely get it. But here's the point why I'm bringing up the number of teams that are registered. The number we're looking at here is 128. If we get 128 teams, which is a number less than what we had last month when we actually started the tournament, we're not actually supposed to do 4 Swiss groups, top 32, single limb, alpha, and beta bracket. We're not supposed to do that with that many teams. With 128 teams or less, we're supposed to do 2 Swiss groups, with the 8 best teams out of both of those groups moving on to a double elimination alpha bracket on Sunday, double elimination beta bracket, gamma bracket, no delta bracket. Just looking at the numbers as they stand right now, let's say we'll close registration at like 150. A lot of teams, not as much as we've had before, but teams recently, we've been dropping, I want to say like 4 or 5 teams, maybe more for splash tag issues. Another handful will drop, not because of splash tag, but because we'll kick one of their players for splash tags and they don't want to play without that player, or they can't find a sub, so they end up dropping as well. Another good chunk of those teams won't check in, or will forget to check in, or they'll wake up and none of their teammates will wake up and they're like, okay, we're just not going to play. I think it's very likely that we are going to start Saturday with less than 128 teams, even though we're over that number right now, and we'll get well over it over the course of the day. I think when the tournament actually starts, we'll be below 128, which does mean I think this will be the first low ink in a long time where we won't have 4 Swiss groups, where we won't have a top 32 group stage. I think we're just going to have the normal old, I call it normal, alpha bracket. And it's going to be something I am personally kind of looking forward to. Mainly because those things are a lot easier to run. It's a lot easier to do double limb alpha bracket than top 32 in the single limb. And I've been on record several times saying I don't like the top 32 into single limb alpha bracket. That's not the way I want low ink to be decided. I feel like the 16 team alpha bracket double limb is the way to go. There's just no way you can do it with that many teams. The only way you can pull it off is by saying to a team that goes 5-1, hey, there's not enough room for you in alpha bracket. Sorry. Like, if we did that with the amount of teams we normally get, a 5-1 team won't make alpha bracket. The only way to guarantee alpha is to go 6-0 in your Swiss group. And that's not how tournaments should work. So if we can just have a normal low ink, 2 Swiss groups, a normal alpha bracket, that'll be awesome. Now, you're going to get more people that are going to complain about tiebreakers, which is like what we always get. Like, I'm ready for that. I'm prepared for that. But I know I've said this many times before, but I want to drive home that point to you guys now, because I know I get a new audience every several months or so. When you become good enough to where you think I might talk about you in the top 10, then you start listening in, and then you'll be replaced by the new team that takes your spot a couple of months from now. If you go 4-2 in low ink, I don't feel bad if you miss alpha bracket or top 32. I really don't. If you go 5-1, you are guaranteed a spot there. We've designed the tournament to make sure 5-1 teams always get in. Like, there's no mathematical way you can go 5-1 and finish 9th in your group. It's just not going to happen. But if you go 4-2, you're at the mercy of tiebreakers. Was your opponent win percentage better than your other team? Did you have a tougher schedule, and did you beat those stronger teams better than what the other team did? at the 4-2 spot. Well, how come that team's above me if we beat them? Because you're not tied with that team that's one spot above you. You're tied with them and the 7 other teams that also have 4-2 records. You can't just use the tiebreaker rules to put yourself above that and then make up your own rules as why you should be above the team that's still tied with everybody else as well. That's why the rules are the way that they are, and they are perfect. The tiebreaker rules are perfect. But I don't really care. If you go 4-2, if you lose 2 times in Swiss, like that's perfectly plausible. And there's been example after example of teams that have lost twice in Swiss and has still won low ink. Zestfest almost did it last month. But I don't really care. I don't feel bad for you. This is a tournament, sweetheart. And I know there's people, the skill cap is too high. It should be easier to win low ink. No, it shouldn't. This is low ink. This isn't some rinky-dink tournament. This is the big boy. This is the Super Bowl of low-level competitive Splatoon. It should be difficult to win. If you lose twice on Saturday, I don't feel bad for you. You control your own destiny. You know, the only people that complain about tiebreakers are losers. Literal losers, like by the definition of the term losers. I've never had a 6-0 team complain about tiebreaker rules in the help desk. You know why? They don't know what the tiebreakers rules are. They took care of business. You control your own destiny, but if you lose twice, don't come in the help desk and tell me why you deserve to be up there when you had an opportunity to earn it yourself outright. And for those of you who listen to the Popcast regularly, don't worry, I will repeat that same rant 6 months from now when I get a new audience. A few teams I want to highlight here before we get into the top 10. Teams that are not in the top 10. Sheer Cold, which is the worst team name right now because it's been fantastic outside all month. But this weekend, it is going to get back down into the 50s, which, I mean, isn't that horrible? But it's like, man, we got a nice week while I'm at work, but now when I'm off, well, I guess I'm not off. I'm dealing with low ink all weekend. Man, it's going to be a little bit more chilly. It's not sheer cold, mind you. But just like the weather being inconsistent, sheer cold has been inconsistent as well. They made alpha a few months ago, and next month, not so much. And then, some months they do really good, and the other months they got to drop because somebody's got to look at Christmas lights. I will say this about Sheer Cold, though. I know they've been grinding. I know Sheer Cold has been grinding. I've been seeing them talk about send-out Q sets a lot over the course of the week. That's going to pay off. Like, the teams that do grind and send out and do actually try to get better as a team, that does pay off. So I'm hopeful that Sheer Cold's going to have a strong tournament this time around, get back to alpha bracket and what's going to be a more difficult alpha bracket to get back to. There's just a lot of strong teams around here, though. But I would love to see them get back to the form that they were a couple of months ago. Squid EST with a question mark. A great low ink last month. And Squid EST is going to go down as one of those other teams that's like starting from the bottom, now we're here. Like the ink in the systems, the octopies, like maybe not win it, but those teams that are just like a SIA kind of team. Yeah, we're like a 1-5, 2-4. We're slowly getting better, though. We're slowly starting to knock on the door. Squid EST has been knocking on that door the last couple of months. This could be the month where they start opening it up. Do I know Drake? I was around when Drake came out while most of you were still in elementary school. What do you mean, do I know Drake? Do you guys know Drake is the question I'm talking about. Arrows of Fire. Now, there is a new Arrows team that has popped up, Arrows of Gale. I don't know what Gale is. Is that just a person named Gale? Because when I think of fire, electricity, ice, I don't really consider Gale to be an element in that kind of category. Maybe wind. You might be on to something there with that. Maybe it's the Arrows of Wind. But the Arrows of Fire, I got to give them a shout out because last month I think I said like they're going to be good, but they're not top 10 worthy good. And I don't think they made the top 10. And then they tweeted out something like, Pop Gun was right. We're not that good. So now I feel bad. So we're going to do a positive prediction for these guys. I'm not going to sit here and say, I don't think they're top 10 material, like I'm going to say about some of these other teams. I'll say this. I think Arrows of Fire is going to make Alpha Bracket this time around, so that when they do make Alpha Bracket, they can say, yay, Popgun was right about us again in a positive way and not in a, oh, I feel bad. Popgun was right. We're not that good. Come on, Arrows of Fire. Prove me right. Make Alpha Bracket. Cosmic Latte. Close to Alpha Bracket last month. So close. Top 32 group was really rough for them. And of course, it's going to be more difficult for everybody to slip into Alpha Bracket this time around because you don't have that top 32 buffer to kind of earn your way in again as a 4-2 team. But Cosmic Latte is going to be looking to get back into the position that they found themselves in before. I think I had them in the top 10 last time as round. I don't have them in the top 10 this time. They still got the potential. Last thing I'm going to talk about here is Elegant Diamond, a round 2 beta bracket team last month, and 2 months prior to that in February, they got second place in beta. But still, that doesn't matter this time around. That just means their top 32 runs have been not up to par. There is no top 32. Likely not a top 32 this time around. And their 5-1 record that they are consistently getting will plant them into Alpha Bracket. And oh, by the way, it's double limb, so you have another shot to lose. So if anybody's going to benefit from a format change, if we get to that point, it's going to be Elegant Diamond over most of these other teams because they are consistently getting the 5-1 result. The last thing I want to point out about Loic before we get into the top 10 teams. Brush is hosting is working on a performance this weekend, which is good. It's related to his major. It's something that it's cool that he's doing that, but he's not going to be available this weekend. Hohen is, I don't think Hohen's going to be available tomorrow either, which is fine. I have not been available on Saturdays for the past couple of Loinks. I played in a tournament, which I won, the last Saturday of Loink, and the one before that was the Sindao Q season finals, and I was commentating that and losing my voice at the same time. So I'm due. It's been a while since there's been a pop gun only Saturday, but that's what we're staring at right here. So be nice, and I'll be nice to you, and we're gonna get through it, and we're gonna have a good time. I already got a bunch of jokes that I like to plan because I like to have fun when I'm TOing, and I hope you guys like that as well. And hopefully Hohen can come back on Sunday so that we can go to IHOP before that Loink Sunday starts. But, man, again, without a top 32, Sunday's super easy to run from a TOing perspective. Double elimination is the easiest tournament format to run, by far. We'll see how it goes, though. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. The top 10 teams that I am not as confident about this time around as I was before. There's a lot of strong teams, and I don't think there is a favorite right now. I don't think there is a team that is the best amongst all the teams that are signed up. So this is a month where somebody I don't talk about at all is going to end up winning it. Grand Finals is going to be between two completely random teams. Let's just say the Bar, whoever that team is, and High Point. I haven't done verification on those two teams, so I don't really know. But that could be the Grand Finals. Two teams we haven't really heard of at this point. Not Hoot Hoot Recruits. I remember the Hoot Hoot Recruits. I'm glad they're back. But the rest of these teams, I don't really know. I don't really know what to expect out of this, which usually means bad things for a lot of teams here. Honorable mention, though, does go out to Joe Cephalopod Joe Starfish before we get into the top 10. JoJo is a top 10 caliber team. We haven't really seen them play in Loink a lot recently, so I don't really know where to place them. And usually they wait till the last minute to sign up, but JoJo has signed up, I see, as of officially here. So I am going to mention them at some point because they are a team that is capable of winning Loink. I just don't know what to expect because it's been a while since we saw them. So they're not in the top 10 this time around. With that being said, there's still registration open for another 5 hours or so. And there are plenty of teams that could sign up that could be somewhere here in the top 10. Just not here yet. So I'm sticking with this top 10 teams that I have right here that was completed around 11 o'clock today. So let's get into it. Number 10. Starlight, Starbright. First star I see tonight. I wish I may. I wish I might. Please do better than Beta. That is right. The team that whooped Beta Bracket going 13 and 2 per games is back for another round. This time around with a podium result of sorts under their belt as the reigning Beta champions. It would have been awesome if they played better during Swiss or top 32, though, going 4 and 2 in Swiss and 1 and 2 in top 32. So, you know, they definitely deserved the bracket that they ended up getting and not Alpha. But if they could harness what other power they gained during their Beta run last month, and they play that consistently across the board of both days, then they're going to be contender, if not this month, next month. Now, I know you could say that about literally everybody, but Starlight, the least proven team on the top 10 here, but still top 10 worthy. Number 9. Solo Q is a top 10 team that is capable of winning this tournament. And if you are hoping I will go more in depth about them, just copy and paste whatever I said about them last month, because while I had them in my top 10 then, they ultimately didn't play by going 0-1 to the check-in button. So I have nothing to add other than to watch out for them if they do end up actually playing all the way through this month, because Solo Q is really good from what they've shown in Alpha brackets past. Just didn't get to see them last month, so they fall down to number 9. Number 8. Yeehaw! Howdy Hat Pirates are back at it again. Another trip to Alpha Bracket, this time derailed early in round 1 by getting the tough draw of playing the eventual champ VR Cat. But it doesn't discredit their consistent appearance in Alpha Bracket. They're a team that's going to be just fine when they move on to life after Lowing because they are getting consistent results. It's just a matter of, are they going to play at their best when it comes time for Alpha Bracket to roll around? Maybe a double elimination Alpha Bracket will benefit them more so than these other teams. Maybe they'll take a loss early on, make a deep losers bracket run, build up some momentum, something we've seen many, many years ago when Alpha Bracket was double elimination. A strong losers bracket team steamrolling everybody. Regardless, they are good enough to win this tournament. It's just a matter of when rather than if at this point. Number 7. Mary Kate Gay is a Spanish word that I am only 80% sure I am pronouncing correctly. And it's a word I need to master because I have a feeling we will be calling their name a lot this month on stream, deep into Alpha Bracket. Last month, they finished top 8, being eliminated in round 2 of Alpha to I Swear We Are Mid-Level in a game 4. Do I remember anything about that set? No, I don't. I don't remember anything about losers, if I'm being honest with you, which is why we are all going to remember Mary Kate and Gay because they are going to do a lot more winning this time around. Number 7. Last month, Blake Spurter did the fusion dance with a few other teams to create a hybrid monster that made Alpha Bracket and got eliminated in round 1 in a game 5 to Zestfest. This time around, though, the whole band is back together as Blake looks to bounce back to the podium like they did in the February Low Inc., taking home a bronze medal while beating VR Cat in a third-place match 3-0 that did actually take place. Yes, I checked sometimes. Teams drop from that. It didn't happen that time. There is no reason to believe Blake Spurter will achieve anything different this time around or anything less. So look to them to have a strong Low Inc. this weekend now that they are raring and ready to go. Number 5. Could you believe I used to do Low Inks previews in the Monday segment of the Low Ink or of the Popcast? I used to do predictions 6 days or 5 days before registration even closed. Like I was basically just predicting teams that I think were going to sign up and make the top 10. And a lot of the chunk of the time, those teams didn't sign up, or they had signed up early and they dropped like on Tuesday or something like that. So here at the number 5 spot, I'm going to revisit that. I'm going to put a team in here that hasn't even signed up, and I don't even know if they're going to pass verification or not yet. But even though we haven't seen Blaze sign up yet as of 2:57 p.m. Eastern Time, they always been signing up like last minute of the tournament. They've been doing that consistently the last couple of months. So I am betting on them doing that here again, and they are going to be a team that is capable of winning it. They were really good last month as well. They got knocked out in round 1. I believe they were up 2-0 against whoever they played and ultimately just lost the set. But Blaze is a team that is more than capable of winning this tournament. And I'm going to gamble that they are actually going to play even though they haven't signed up. And if they don't, then there's already one team out of my top 10, out of my top 5 that isn't even going to win this, isn't even going to play in the tournament. Number 4. Remember Just Squidding? The team that took second place in January Low Ink to Red Pacific? Didn't play in March. What have they been up to since that January Low Ink? No, like, seriously, like, what have they been up to the past 3 or 4 months? I haven't really seen them do a whole heck of a lot. Now, keep in mind, I believe they're EU, and I don't pay attention to, like, the earlier brackets of some of these other EU tournaments, just mostly who wins at the end right there. But they're back, and as of now, are playing in this Low Ink. Back then, in January, they were Zestfest. That team that's just kind of floating around that top 32 stage. Like, they're just there because they're always there, but they're never really a threat to win it. And then they just pop off out of nowhere and take home the silver medal. I'm not sure how much rust or how they're going to fare against some of these other teams that have improved the past 3 months. But just off what they showed us back in January, they are a top 4 caliber team in this Low Ink. Number 3. Whoop, whoop. New team alert. Whoop, whoop. And it's honestly something we need to buy more of in our house. When you think about it, we could always use a little bit more WD-40 because our doors are a little squeaky and it's hard to close PJ's bedroom door after you've like just settled him down into his crib because the door's a little squeaky and sometimes wakes him up. But the Low Ink team, WD-40, is full of players that are anything but squeaky. That's got players that managed to go 6-0 in Swiss last month, so there is some winning DNA here for this squad. Not sure what to expect from them, and this is a brand new team playing in their first Low Ink, even though these players aren't brand new to Low Ink. But I think just off of the caliber that this roster has by itself, this is a top 3 team in a wide open Low Ink. Number 2. If this was a top 10, not teams list, but a top 10 drink list, would strawberry soda be anywhere on that top 10? No. Strawberry soda as a drink is honestly gross. It's disgusting. Now, a milkshake or smoothie strawberry, all for that. The top tier, S tier caliber. But soda is just disgusting. Who actually drinks strawberry soda? Now, the good news for strawberry soda is that they are not as sucky as the drink they branded themselves after, and their team themselves is pretty good. Why? It's mostly that I swear we are a mid-level team, along with Color from Forgotten. So, yes, another new team that hasn't really played in a Low Ink before, but the DNA of the team is really strong. Are they mid-level? No, because that doesn't actually exist. There's no such thing as mid-level. Is the soda itself considered mid? I think that's an insult to mid-flavored sodas. But the team strawberry soda is going to make podium this month. Bet on it. And now, the number one team, and who I guess technically I'm predicting to win this tournament because I have to have a number one team. All right, Zestfest. I didn't put you close to the top 10 last month because you didn't deserve it. Then you ripped Alpha Bracket apart and broke the hearts of tourney champion hopefuls along the way on Sunday. Now it's your turn. This month, you are Cephalo Blake. You are Loxier. You are I Swear We Are Mid-Level. You are those teams who you played Cinderella to. Now you inherit all of the curses that those teams had. You have to deal with the consequences of your achievement. It's still a great position to be in, though. The question about Zestfest is, can they handle the pressure when so many teams traditionally don't really do that in low ink? But the question isn't anymore if they're good, because they proved last month they're good. They are really, really good. The former question, though, is if they can handle the pressure, is what is going to be answered on this upcoming Sunday. So there you go. Zestfest, the defending second place team, is my number one team going into this month's lowing. If you disagree with my top 10 list, which I'm sure none of you do, but if you feel like I didn't mention your team at all, or you've been under, you don't get any respect. Oh, Popgun doesn't believe in us. Don't worry. I always offer apologies on the Monday episode of the Popcast if they are warranted. You get to prove me wrong literally starting tomorrow. So, with that being said, if you'd like to be a part of the Popcast anyway, feel free to reach out to me with my socials below. Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Discord at Popgun, Blue Sky at Popgun, and Twitch at Popgun25, YouTube at 25 Popgun. We're going to be rating Dapple Productions because they got a tournament going on. Check them out. Make sure you finish all your low ink stuff by the end of registration today. I will see you guys tomorrow, and enjoy the weekend. Good luck.